his presentation.
Okay, sir.
And
Thank you, sir.
ma'am, he won't be making PPT presentation.
Okay. Only Santosh sir won't be making a PPT.
Yeah, only Santosh sir, I suppose.
Then that is a very good innovative thing, sir. Because what happens with PPT generally?
Ma'am, just I have not in my mobile now.
Okay, no problem. You can go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So, good afternoon, one and all. My name is Santosh Thakrele. I am going to give a presentation on the topic journalists as alternative investigators and the role of media in crime fictions, especially in the context to the Vikas Swarup's novel Six Suspect. Dear friends, journalism and media play an important role in many contemporary crime fiction novels, and therefore it is certainly deserve a closer look. Ma'am, am I audible?
Go ahead.
You are audible.
Okay. Many investigating figures have a background in the journalism and writing, while in other cases, it is the media that has been a big impact on the investigation in the crime novels. Particularly, interconnections between crime investigation and media in crime fiction novels, there are hardly surprising given importance and impact on the representation and perception of the crime. As Murray Lee and Alice McGovern insist that media coverage plays an integral role in which community frames and views issues of crime, law and order, and social control. They also point out at the rapid increase in crime reporting and crime series on televisions that have an impact on the imagination and fear of crime. The similar effect can be noticed from the crime fictions also. The media traditionally occupy a role of disseminating selected crime news to the public, but this scenario is often challenged in the novels by journalistic activities which draw back on the own sources and go beyond official information provided by the police, whether it is to be obtained further information or to uncover scandals inside the police. The journalist is usually regarded as a counterbalance. In general, we can say that the figure of journalist investigator is a feature of globally successful series. For example, in Scandinavian Swedish crime fiction, Stig Larsson's Millennium series features investigating journalist Michael Blomkvist, and Lisa Markland has employed the female crime reporter Annika Begzon. The rise of journalist investigators in crime fiction often projects him on or her as a holder of the social justice in a corrupt environment. And in the Indian context, crime fiction writers often have a background in print or online mode or online media. The famous names among them are Madhumita Bhattacharya, Kishwari Desai, Tariq Hall, C.K. Meena. These are some famous names. They provided an idea of the range of journalist investigators and also give the insights into the roles and functions that journalists and the media occupy in the corpus novels. In Indian crime fiction also, journalists as a protagonist have so far been less presented as main investigating figure, though they are not a main investigating figures in the novels, but they do play a certain role. For example, an interesting example for this is the Vikas Swarup's second novel, Six Suspect, which was published in 2016. The novel is about the murder mystery of Vicky Rai. When the novel opens, 7 years ago, Vicky Rai, the playboy son of a home minister of Uttar Pradesh, murdered a bartender girl, Ruby Gill, at a restaurant in New Delhi. And simply because of she refused to serve him a single drink. The opening murder committed by Vicky Rai is similar to the real life Jessica Lal murder case, which was happened in 1919. And in that case, the killer was Manu Sharma, who was the son of a leader from Haryana. When we further go into the novel, now Vicky Rai has been killed at the party when he was throwing a party to celebrate his acquittal. And at that party, he is murdered. The police recovers six suspects or six guests with the guns in their possessions. Vikas Swarup unravels the lives and motives of the six suspects in this crime novel. Though this novel is a complex and polyphone crime fiction, but it largely omits the presence of investigating detective figures. An investigating journalist, Arun Advani, and a TV presenter, Barkha Das, do play an important role in some part of the novel. The chapter first and chapter from 20 to 25, titled as the Bare Truth and Breaking News. Through these chapters, or in these chapters, newspaper columns and the newscast by investigating journalist Arun Advani and the TV presenter Barkha Das give latest update about the murder investigation and create a kind of frame for the individual stories of the suspects. The column, which was written by Advani in the first chapter, can be seen as a summary of the event that recounts Vicky's life and death. Similarly, the story of the suspects who have been arrested for his murder. The final chapter deal with the police investigation of the murder. Along with that, an anonymous or unnamed first person narrator appears in the last chapter entitled as The Truth and reveals himself as an investigating journalist who killed Vicky. In the last chapter, there is an unknown journalist who uh, mentions that he is the killer of Vicky Rai. This journalist sees his murderer as an act of vigilantism, which was necessary due to the inaction of the police. But in novel, there is no proof is given that this journalist who murdered Vicky Rai is Arun Advani. But at the some parallel exists as both followed Vicky's activities very closely for the years. Arun conducts his own investigation and obtains information much easier than the police. He receives tape from the tape of the conversations from Vicky's father, the Home Minister Jagannath Rai. Arun can easily reveal the key suspect, Aketi, a tribal person who is from Andaman Island, whom the police considered Naxalite. But but Arun considers him as an innocent because he had the humanity who answers him politely. When Aketi is shot in the police custody, Arun writes an open letter to the president of the India and openly accuses various persons to be directly responsible for Aketi's death. The accused police commissioner KD Sahai defends himself on the television. In the final chapter, the unnamed journalist only discloses his crime to the reader about his killing of the Vicky. He explains that he sneaked in as a waiter during the party and shot Vicky
Yes,
before.
Santosh, come on, sum up. Come to
Okay, sir. Just.
the yeah.
Hiding gun in the secret compartment and shoes, he refrained from telling his colleagues at the newspaper of his wife and he is confident that he will never be punished and feel proud of carrying out the perfect murder. On the another hand, in the novel, the narrator journalist explains his decision to shoot Vicky in detail and states that as a committed investigative journalist, he felt it was his duty to kill Vicky Roy. At the denouement of the murderer as well as the advantage column both shift from focus from the criticism of corrupt elite to the apathy of India's middle class. The murderer accuses India being a nation of wires where people comfortably watch injustice broadcasted on the television without fighting for change. They just talk about that presentation or about the broadcasting. Arun's column are contrasted by the breaking news chapters, which were consisted the transcripts of the broadcast of the TV presenter Barkha Das, who is in real life resembles to the Indian TV journalist Barkha Das, who works for the NDTV. Barkha Das gives live updates on the latest development of the investigation of Vicky's murder. In spite of this sensationalist mode of work, she emphasizes that she sides with the common Indian. To sum up all these,
Santosh sir, summing up. Summing
okay,
up.
okay, ma'am. Summing up, okay, ma'am. To sum up, journalism and media do play an important role in six suspects. Even though there is no journalist investigator who guides through the entire novel. Instead, six suspects depict the relation between media, crime, and democracy in contemporary India by including various news agents. They reflect the high impact of media on public opinion and mediatization of Indian middle class in particular. There is the discrepancy between the elite that sees itself above the law and the another middle class is obstructed by non-supportive authorities and which is frequently addressed in our contemporary movies and novels also. And similarly, they are shown in movies and novels. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Santosh sir, you have taken only one particular novel for crime.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing a thesis on this particular crime novels, journalism and crime novel impact?
No, no, ma'am.
Just for a presentation, okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Next participant, please.
Yeah.
Respected Dr. Kapil sir and Chairperson ma'am, my mentor. I'm glad to see you, ma'am. Very good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Pooja.
Okay. Sir, can you make me co-host?
Yeah, you are co-host. You are.
Actually, I'm dealing with two gazelles.
Pardon? You are a co-host.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay. Sir, actually, I'm dealing with two gadgets. One is my laptop and another one is my mobile. Can you make me co-host of another?
Why do you need to, Pooja?
Actually, ma'am, what I think, maybe there is some problem, technical issue and all.
You carry on with the one on which you are co-host.
Because
issue is there
echo might occur. Echo might occur if you are handling two gadgets.
अरे आशीष वो पूजा पंड्या दो जगह है बोलती थी
सर दोनों जगह कर दिया उसको पोस्ट
या पूजा
Yes sir, I got it.
Yeah.
Is my screen is visible?
Yes.
Yeah, you are sharing it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It's not visible, but you are sharing it.
Yeah.
this visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, ma'am. So today's my topic is Shades of Kathakali in Anita Nayar's Mistress, I Study. Human life and art are interrelated to make the life complete and harmonious. Human beings take art as most valued and perform it in various ways like painting, sculpture, dance, architecture, music, etc. Anita Nair presents her views on Kathakali dance in her famous novel Mistress. Kathakali is an ancient, highly stylish dance form from southern India. It is combination of storytelling and performance. Kathak means story, Kali means dance. As the name suggests, Kathakali is a beautiful amalgamation of dance and drama. Here precisely, Kathakali is a harmonious blend of 5 forms of arts: Sahityam, literature; Sangeetam, music; Chitram, painting; Natyam, acting; and Nrityam, dance. This art form is a form of regaining humanity. She blends her novel to the structure of a Kathakali performance. Mistress is a complex novel consisting of 2 words, art and artist's life. It is whole redeemed by the author's infectious passion for Kathakali and its performance, and her lightness of touch when it comes to intimate human relationship. This is a sensitive and nuanced work which makes a persuasive case for the continuing relevance of this ancient art form in modern India. Anita Nair has used the theme of meaning and desire in art and life. All the 4 main characters, Homan, Radha, Krish, and Cham, are in the drama of life. They are passionately involved in personal as well as in social life. The most important aspect of Kathakali is theatre, based on acting. This dance gives a lot of weight to costume, makeup, and musical instruments and attempt to perform different leelas in the form of dance, drama, gave birth to Kathakali dance. Hence, a tradition was formed to start the leelas outside temples. This dance is now an integral part of human culture. Instead of gestures and symbols, this dance uses a descriptive style. There are 30 forms of Kathakali. It is very difficult to learn. Mistress is a book on relationships told in many voices going back and front in time across contains not only one of the principal protagonists, a Kathakali artist of international fame, but the different phases of interplay of the corrections impressed through the Navrasas, the 9 phases of human emotions, which is beautifully described by her. It has been an ancient literary maximum that an epic should depict the Navrasas in the right portions. The 9 rasas are Shringaram, Hasyam, Karuna, Rudram, Viram, Bhayankaram, Vibhatsam, Adbhutam, Shantam, properly enacted, keep audience spellbound through the night of flickering oil lamps. The last portion is the conclusion one. Anita Nair writes about men and women relationship and complex Kathakali aesthetic with equal felicity. She has used the theme of meaning and desire in art and life. Her all 4 characters are in the drama of life where art is passionately involved in personal as well as in social life. She has merged beautifully the art of writing with Kathakali. The book is structured like a Kathakali performance and has 9 chapters with each chapter named after an emotion from Navrasas. Okay, thank you so very much. This is my presentation. Sir, over to you.
Dr. Pooja, the topic which you have taken is so interesting that you could have developed it into a full-fledged paper, because
Yes, ma'am.
you have touched the particular aspect of Kathakali
Yes, ma'am.
in Anita Nayar's Mistress, and you can work on this and make it, because the things which you could add are
Yes, ma'am.
still missing from it. Try to develop it into a full-fledged paper later on.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Next participant, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Dr. Mahendra Sahare.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Please allow me to share my PPT. So, is it visible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is visible.
Uh, Very good afternoon to respected chairperson of today's session, Dr. Priya Vanjal ma'am, and coordinator of refresher course, Dr. Singhel sir. Today, I prepared a presentation on burning issue of Vidarbha, or we can say all over India, that is agrarian crisis in contemporary Indian writing in English. We all are directly or indirectly associated or linked with agriculture. And from the ancient period, and with the evolution of society, social structure, and civilization, there is a web relationship among agricultural process, production, and social evolution. And as per Indian society, agriculture is the primary source of livelihood for 58% of population in India, and 70% of households depend on it and its allied sectors. That is why this sector uh, has a focal point in our society. And contemporary author in this regard, Perumal Murugan, all of we know him, who is in forced self-exile. Perumal Murugan, in his earlier interview to INS, says, whenever we call farmers poor and judge their lives, it is from the perspective as of now kind of life that is emerging in the cities. Means what he wants to say, whatever life is emerging in cities, whatever amenities are being provided in cities, these are all coming from being provided from agriculture or from farmers. The clothes we wear, the food we eat. That is why he further says that agriculture is not a profession for Indian people. It is a way of life. It is something you live and breathe every day. Next, the agricultural issues we all do have in our society, uh, acute agriculture, serious agriculture issues. That is, there are rich farmers, middle, marginal farmers, poor farmers, and landless laborers. And if except rich farmers who have large amount of land with them and they are doing their agriculture in innovative way, marginal and poor farmers are in majority, and they have always deficit balance sheet. Expenditure is more compared to income, and every time they are in a very strict position. Moreover, what happens to add to this trajectory, what happens, job market in non-agriculture sector is incapable to absorb the marginal farmers and landless laborers. If they are not earning in their agri farm through their farming, uh, uh, they have no other opportunities to earn for their livelihood, and that is why job market is in non-agriculture sector is not able to or incapable to absorb the marginal farmers and landless laborers. Again, one more thing which is issue with farmers is that adverse government policies to favor the crony capitalist. In last year, we saw the farmers' hesitation at the national level. And there is one more thing. Sir, am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Mr. Umesh Chavan.
Yes, you are audible. I think someone's mic is on.
Mr. Umesh
Just to
Chavan.
check who is this.
Then there is growing vulnerability to risk and uncertainty on several fronts. That is production, price, and credit, resulted in farmers' suicide. All of we are familiar with this situation, what is happening with our farming profession. As per National Crime Records Bureau data, 3,58,164 people engaged in farming profession committed suicides from 1995 to 2019. And from 3 years now, 17,000 farmers committed suicide, who are the feeders of this world. We assume farmers, they are committing suicide. That is the failure of our system, failure of our society. I think so. That is what. This is the picture. Why agriculture is undergoing such a crisis. The picture here, the old man, his farm is suffering from drought. If there is no rainfall, then their they get their farm, their crop is ruined. Then another second picture, if we have a look, that farm is just ruined by cyclone storm. And third one picture shows another natural calamity, that is because of heavy rainfall. And this year we are some part of India, Vidarbha especially, we are experiencing this tragedy. Now, all of we know and all of we are familiar, and academia and creative writers are also watching this phenomena, and the farmers are committing suicide, and committing suicide is not limited to that farmer, to the individual only. He's suffering in distress, and due to suffering and due to inability to cope up with the situation, he embrace death. That is very much pathetic for that farmer or individual. But after that, what happens for his family? New challenges are ahead to them. The education of their children, sons and daughters, they lose their dreams. A sudden change, life course is change. And in our India, there are very few non-fictions or literature available. Uh, Non-fiction, as per non-fiction, it expounded at length a variety of issues. That is Ustan Patnaik, a Marxist scholar. She, in her book, uh, gave account of an understanding of agricultural situation in India. Then another Venkat Iyer moved over microchip. He charts the transformation of an urban techie into rural farmer. Now there is trend also. Some software engineers and people who are from urban area, they are now converting into rural farmers, and they are applying innovative ways to um, um, make production from Kota Nilima, another renowned name, Widows of Vidarbha. This is another non-fictional work. She surveyed Vidarbha region, and in her book Widows of Vidarbha, she tells a story of 16 farm widows. Talk of their lost dreams, their diminished worldviews, their helpless surrender to the conveniences of patriarchy. If we read this book, we are moved by the pathetic stories described in that. Moreover, hundreds of studies, survey reports, and articles are published till now. But as for fictional representation, in last decade, last century, in 20th century author Munshi Premchand, he depicted farmers' lives and in his novels and short stories extensively. And he explored different aspects of rural farming community. Then another author, K.S. Venkatramani, he wrote his novel, Murugan the Killer, in 1927, but it was translated recently. Then another novel by Death of a Moneylender, 2009, by Kota Nilima, conveys the condition of Indian farmers, touches the inequality of space, inequality to access to the education and health in rural India, and unjust market price of farm means uncertainty, agriculture, lack of storage, collusion by moneylenders, how moneylenders, private moneylenders exploit the farmers, pesticides and insecticide dealers also exploit the farmers, and market agents also. Then Kota Nilima's another novel, Shoes of the Day. This novel is now is a film now. A farmer in novels, Sudhakar Bhadra, kills himself because of successive crop failure and burden of debt. His wife Gangiri was denied the compensation by district authorities, and his brother undertakes the life's mission to bring justice to the dead.
Sorry to
Similar farmer
interrupt you,
societies.
Dr. Mahendra.
Yeah, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt you. You have done attempted a thesis on this particular topic.
No, ma'am. My thesis on home culture and identity through displacement in novels of Amitav Ghosh.
Okay, so when you
This is only for presentation.
presentation purpose, so you want to deal with fiction or non-fiction, or you are going to take all of these in
I incorporated non-fiction and fiction also.
you can make a summarized version of what exactly you wanted to say. Like
Yeah,
we have
sure.
understood it very clearly up till now. It's
Yeah,
very clear.
thank you.
But make a summarized your own viewpoint. I want to hear your viewpoint. Don't
Yeah.
read this what you are presenting. Na? Just make a viewpoint.
There is another novel, then Sadanand Deshmukh's Baromas, which is award-winning novel, all of we know, and it is translated by Vilas Salunke. Jaydeep Hardikar's famous novel, another novel, and I think there are very few literary narratives, scanty of literary narratives in English, and from vernacular or native languages, these are translated. There is no adequate representation of agriculture crisis in Indian writing in English. P. Sainath, the leading journalist, said how organized we are, how people die, how agonized we are, how people die, how unconcerned we are by how they live. Still, the stories are which are realistic. These are not touching to the academicians, to the creative writers, and all other people. the more stories we have, the more views we will have. It is time to make these unseen heroes noticeable to the world so that more support could be gained for them. And moreover, as a majority of Indian population lives in rural area, the rural economy is mostly agrarian and land is considered not only the means of production but property, and farmers support it as a mother who feeds them. And as a uh, students of literature, many of our cultural practices, if we want to probe into the cultural roots and culture, and if we want to assert Indianness uh, through our literature and through our society, we should have a look at the cultural practices and patterns that are related to agriculture background. And look, most of the festivals in different regions of India, they are related to harvest, celebrate the main harvest seasons and so on. And stories of Indian agriculture with the celebrations and harsh realities would certainly contribute for assertion of Indianness. And that is the vision of national educational policy, which is being implemented in our, India. Thank you, ma'am.
Good. A different thing, different perspective, altogether different.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, next, please.
Yeah. Madam Madhumanti Sengupta.
Can you please take off your screen, sir, so that I can share? Mahendra, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Okay, so a very good afternoon to Singhel sir, to Dr. Vanzari, and to all my teacher fraternity. I'm Madhumanti Sengupta, and an assistant professor at the Department of English at R.K. Talreja College of Arts, Science and Commerce, situated at Ulhasnagar, Thane district. So the topic for my presentation today is the impact of toxic entanglement on biodiversity. Indira Sinha's Animals People as Anthropocene Fiction. So Anthropocene fiction is an offshoot of the already ongoing critical movement of eco-criticism and bioregionalism. The only difference between the two is that eco-criticism is a critical tool to analyze novels of posterity as well as in the present, to look for ecological themes and representation of anthropocentric activities and anthropocentric worldview, whereas Anthropocene novels more directly deal with the problem of a degraded environment due to anthropocentric activities of human beings. So this novel is going to be analyzed as an Anthropocene novel. It is an Anthropocene novel, which sometimes also comes under climate fiction. So the main features of an Anthropocene novel is to explore how human materialistic needs have always exploited nature and have impacted biodiversity in adverse ways. How manufacturing and unregulated use of pesticides, insecticides, and harmful chemicals used beyond safety limits have led to environmental catastrophes with long-term effects, both physiological as well as psychological, on biodiversity, both human and non-human. It also represents, explores, and problematizes man-made natural disasters and attempts to find sustainable solutions to carve a green future. So these are a few terms which we have heard of when we talk about eco-criticism and Anthropocene fiction. So I'm sure all of you have heard of it, so I won't get into the details, but I would definitely like to touch upon the earliest examples of Anthropocene fiction, which was Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. And Silent Spring was about DDT pollution in the US, and it was published in 1962, and it acts as a kind of a springboard for the eco-criticism movement to hit the academic scenes. And both eco-criticism and Anthropocene fiction grew in response to industrialization and environmental crisis. And as we all know, ecologist Barry Commoner has said that everything is connected to everything else. And so when a specific part of the ecosystem is damaged, it is imperative that even 10 miles away or even 100 miles away, another ecosystem is going to be affected in some other way. Anthropocene fiction, or CLI-FI, represents modernity, industry and technological advancement, leading to commodity fetishism, capitalist profit, and utter indifference towards the environment. Anthropocenes, on top of that, don't even believe, it's very difficult for them to believe that a natural disaster, which has happened, say, in Madhya Pradesh in India, is not going to affect somebody staying in South India. So we feel that we are spatially, socially, or culturally away from that point of disaster, and therefore we are safe. This is the greatest delusion which Anthropocene fiction is pointing out. So Anthropocene novels actually act as an essential tool to salvage and construct meaning for the Anthropocene, that is, the people living in the Anthropocene era, and it aims to create ecological awareness and public engagement towards the environment. So the novel that I'm going to deal with today is Indra Sinha's Animals People, which is based on the terrible Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984. It focuses on the hazardous chemical interventions in nature through the American company, as it was said, American company instead of company, because the locals were not literate with English education. So the novel is actually inspired by the horrific industrial accident that occurred in December 1984 in Bhopal, when the American-owned company, the Union Carbide pesticide plant, leaked poisonous gases, that is methyl isocyanate, and the highly toxic substance killed thousands of sleeping people on that very night, and lakhs of residents were injured and disabled forever. 8,000 people, according to government records, died within 2 weeks of the disaster. And the cause? It was corporate negligence in maintaining necessary safety measures in the plant, where the capacity of the chemical storage tanks were only 50%, that is around 30 tons. And when the accident happened, it was found that the tanks were overburdened with a capacity of 42 tons, which slowly leaked into the neighboring environment and poisoned and killed people. Countless people suffered from blindness, cancer, liver failure, and birth defects. And it has been said in the novel that if by chance you got any of this chemical on your hand, the skin would blister. So this is the severity of the poison that was being released into the soil, the air, as well as the rivers of this particular bioregion. So these are some lines from the novel where it is said, on the night of the place, the setting is a small village called Khaufpur, and quoting from the novel, it has been said, listen how quiet it is. No bird song, no hoppers in the grass, no bee hum. And then drinking poisoned water, many creatures like the peacocks, goats, and even herons died beside the company's lake. Politicians made them take thousands of bodies and throw them in the Chameli River. And yet the company refused to take responsibility and skipped court hearings in utter deference towards the residents. Human beings were also affected in dire ways. For example, the protagonist, Animal, was a victim of the poisonous gas, and his spine twisted in such a manner that he walked on all fours like an animal, and that is why his name. Young mothers could not breastfeed their children. They refused to do it. I won't feed my kid poison, one of them said. And there was an unborn fetus called Ka in the jar, who was the youngest victim of that night, who would be disabled, a disabled child if he was allowed to be born. And then we have Ma Franchi, a nun who used to look after orphaned children, and our protagonist had grown up in that orphanage, who had clear blue eyes before, who was very active in her work, but later she developed cataract, she forgot all other languages except French, and she also developed dementia. So obviously the main themes in this novel is animality or bestiality versus humanity, as we see in the protagonist and the other characters. We see the impact of unregulated, selfish materialism, industrialization, the impact of capitalism, and the first world indifference towards third world workers, citizens, laborers, however else we might put it. The main characters are Animal, who's a 19-year-old protagonist who is disabled. Zafar and Farouk are activists who are fighting against the company and filing cases against them. Then we have Ellie, an American philanthropic doctor who is looking after the gas tragedy hit people. Ma Franchi was the French nun, and company, again, the American chemical company, which was one of the main characters here. And the setting is, of course, Khaufpur, this place in Bhopal. So let us now examine the theme of animality or humanity through the main character. Animal symbolically represents the bestial company, but he is quite the antithesis of the company. He is, if the company is the villain here, is the antagonist, then he's the protagonist. And also he also bears the brunt of the malpractices of the corrupt politicians who supported ruthless American capitalists for selfish gains, and actually supported American capitalism in a globalized world. Animal, ironically, bears the burden of a bestial world, while essentially he is emotional, sensitive, and selfless. In contrast, we have the company who displays its cruelty and indifference and refuse to appear for any of the court hearings against them. Animal, on the other hand, saved the fetus, Ka in the jar, when the clinic was burning. So he imperiled his own life, went into the burning clinic and saved it. And he also salvaged Anjali, his childhood friend, from the brothel with the savings that he had stored up for his surgery so that he could stand up on his two legs, which was his dream forever. But in the end, his internal humane qualities surfaced, and he used the money for a completely selfless purpose. So at this juncture, I would like to draw your attention to this fact when, in the novel, when Animal gets deep inside the factory, this is after the tragedy has happened, he finds a variety of flowers and herbs growing, and he thinks that nature and wilderness must be paradise. There will be no Khaufpur, no India, no trace of flames, and hell is not visible from here. That is, from the place where the plants are growing. These trees, these forests go on forever. So this actually is in alignment with the eco-critics who think that animals deserve their due. They really deserve it. It's not that human beings are greater, but that all human and non-human entities are equal. He compared nature and the endless jungles with the city of God, whereas Khaufpur was nothing but hell. So the question that the novelist would like to, the novelist poses here is that if the Anthropocene doesn't change its ways, how long will it be able to survive from man-made natural disasters like climate change, oil spills, chemical poisoning, drought, global warming, and not the least, COVID-19 pandemic that we have been recently facing. So I would like to conclude with this statement that we should, in the present age of the Anthropocene, either beware, either be conscious of our acts, or be ready for the repercussions. Unless we are accountable of our actions, unless we take responsibility, nobody can save the human Anthropocene, whereas the animals and the plants and the ecosystem in general are still capable of surviving themselves, because we have been exploiting them for generations, and yet they survive and continue to sustain us. But on the other hand, what have we done to ensure a sustainable development? So instead of the word development, which we see on the front of the engine, it should be replaced with sustainable development, which does not kill an animal, but takes responsibility and accountability for the upkeep of the environment. Thank you so much for giving me a patient hearing.
Very good indeed. Something different. We could hear eco-criticism since long. It is a different aspect, of course. The aspect has changed. Of course, the basic theme is the same. Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Two more, really, sir?
More, yeah. Is it Rajkumar Bhairam, sir, the next? Or Durgesh?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, Atul Durgesh, sir, over to you.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Durgesh sir is going to present.
Yeah, Durgesh, sir.
Has he
Durgesh, sir,
got-
are you ready?
has he got-
Yes, sir. I'm just sharing the screen, sir.
Okay, okay.
Sir, is my screen is visible?
No, it's not. It's not.
Not visible.
Are you doing via your mobile?
Yes, yes, sir. I am mobile.
Okay.
Otherwise, give me 1 minute, sir.
That is, someone was directing the people who were, I think Suman ma'am was there. Are you there?
We can take the next one till he gets accustomed to his device.
Yeah, ma'am. Durge sir, go to screen, share and then screen.
Okay.
Click on share in your mobile and then screen. The same problem was with me that day.
Yeah.
Sir, it is asking for meeting ID again. So please give me 2 minutes. I will do it on my laptop, sir.
Okay. Okay.
We can take the next participant.
Yeah. If Bhairam, Dr. Rajkumar Bhairam, if you are ready, we can.
Yeah, sir.
Over to you. Bhairam, sir.
Allow me to share my screen, sir.
Yeah. Durge, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's visible.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Vanjari ma'am, the chairperson of the session, and good afternoon, Kapil Singhel, sir, the coordinator of this refresher course, and all the participants. Today, the topic of my presentation is the immigrant's quest for inheritance. Kiran Desai, the inheritance of loss. The paper attempts to analyze the dilemma of the migrant, tracing his quest for inheritance. I quote the words of Uma Parmeshwaran to decide whether the immigrant agrees with the paradigm that home is where your feet are, and may your heart be there too or not. In the present paper, I have used 3 levels of investigation to search the immigrant's quest for the inheritance. The first level is unfolding the basic dilemma of the immigrant. Second is to know the history of what has pushed him or her to this crisis of identity. And third one is that probe into the parentage to analyze the fractured identity of the immigrant and cause of exile. Although the history and literature have attempted to project exile as heroic, romantic, glorious, and even triumphant episode, exile is synonymous with misery and estrangement. Pain, failure, and nostalgia govern the life of immigrants. There is frustration, anguish, despair, and loneliness on their part. Here, I want to quote the words of Edward Said about the term exile. The term is defined as the unhealable rift forced between a human being and a native place, between the self and its true home. Its essential sadness can never be surmounted. So, in the particular novel, there is the dilemma of an immigrant which arises out of many factors like expatriatism and the conflict between cultural and psychological origins. This is the book, The Inheritance of Loss, is a Booker-winning novel, and in this, she has analyzed the immigrant's experience and challenges all to face the same heart-wrenching question that haunted the immigrants. She asked the question, there is a question, who am I and where do I belong? She certainly wants us to explore the pain of the immigrant. In the novel, part of the narrative explores the travels of immigrants, which are similar to the first-hand experience of the struggles of Desai herself. In the epigraph to the novel, she includes the line that are as follows: my humanity is in feeling we are all voices of the same poverty. They speak of homeland. My homeland is the rhythm of a guitar, a few portraits, and old shore. The willow grows visible prayer as evening falls. And this she has quoted in the epigraph of the novel. Here, I have described two characters in the novel. First is the Jemubhai Patel, and second is Biju, the cook's son, who is working to Jemubhai Patel. And they have experienced the nostalgia in the foreign country. The novel includes a hard look at physical poverty, but that is not only kind her characters come to recognize. The novel setups between Kalimpong, a tiny Himalayan burg, and the street of New York City. All the major characters in the novel are displaced from the place of their birth. The retired judge, Jemubhai Patel, who is born in colonial India, travels from India to Cambridge to study law and come back to his land with the assurance of a good job under the British government. Being the first boy in the district to go to an English university and assured of a powerful career on return, he acquires both a large debt from local moneylenders. His father-in-law arranges for members of a military band to serenade his departure at the Bombay docks. His arrival in England is met up with less pomp, and there is the contrast. He struggles to find a room to let, and when he does find 1 mile away from the university, his landlady is unwelcoming and insists on calling him James. Jemu spends his entire time at Cambridge, locked in his room, studying 40 hours a day, eating his landlady's inadequate food and not making friends. And here, I quote the word from the novel that for entire days, nobody spoke to him at all. His throat jammed with words unuttered, his heart and mind, and turned into blunt, etching things, and elderly ladies, even the hapless, blue-haired, spotted faces, like collapsing pumpkins, moved over when he sat next to them in the bus. So he knew that whenever they were secure in their conviction that it wasn't even remotely as bad as what he had. And it is the loneliness on the part of Jimubhai Patel. He scrapes through his exams, makes it into the Indian civil service, and returns to India to serve His Majesty as a magistrate. Having experienced awful dislocation in England, he now finds that he cannot make a place for himself in India because he has now completely changed himself into English. Despite a glorious reception, Jemu finds his wife grotesque and his people alien. He rejects his wife, the baby, his family, and their wage. He becomes more English than the English trying and failing to hunt animals with his 12-bore shotgun, eating toast for breakfast and crumpets for tea, and pouring all his love into his relationship with his dog, Jemu is a tragic and a lonely figure. Means here we can see that Jemubhai Patel is not completely Indian, and at the same time he is not completely British also. Means there is some insecurity on his part about the identity. There is another character, that is Biju, the son of Jemu Bhai Patel's cook, and he was sent to America to find his fortune. Biju arrived on a 2-week ticket and stayed for years, becoming part of the group of illegal immigrants in New York who make cheap labor for unscrupulous restaurants. He and his fellow kitchen slaves at the Gandhi Cafe sleep wrapped in tablecloths on the cafe floor at night. Biju's dream
Presentation is not moving.
is to get the unobtainable golden ticket like the green card.
Bairam sir,
Yes, sir. I am summing up.
okay.
Your
Your slides are not moving.
So here,
try summing up what
quotation.
exactly you want to say. Please sum up.
There is the quotation about the Biju's mentality, that he settled there. He went there for only 2 weeks and he stayed there for years. And now there is a problem of the green card. And here there are the quotation from the novel. The green card, without it he could not live. To live, he wanted a green card. This was the absurdity, how he desired the triumphant. After the green card returns home, thirsted for it, to be able to but a ticket with the air of someone who could return if he wished or not if he did not wish. In this way, there is a suffering on the part of Biju. He suffered the pangs of loneliness since the time of his arrival in America. He was totally disheartened for some time. He had hopes that he would manage to survive. And in this way, those two characters faces the problem of identity. Finally, when Biju returns to his own land, where his father is eagerly waiting for him, but he is happy to be amidst the sweet dampness of home. He felt everything shifting and clicking into place around him, felt slowly shrink back to size, the enormous anxiety of being a foreigner, aiming that unbearable arrogance and shame of the immigrant. This is the quotation. And here there is the desolation on the part of Biju that he returned from America without earning money. Here, Kiran Desai writes about the Indian experience of migration, of exploitation, of surviving, of expatriation, of striving to succeed abroad, yet yearning for an increasingly imaginary homeland. Here, I quote Kiran Desai's assertion that she says, Biju's long quest through an inferno of Manhattan basement kitchens for the holy grail of green card reflects his creator's urge to replace myth with truth in the stories of success that confront mainstream America. At the same time, I have quoted the Desai's words in an interview. She says, I spent so much time with her. She here refers to her mother, with her when she moved abroad to teach. We both went through the immigrant experience together. I have developed her idea and her way of living as a writer. I didn't really have to fight so hard to make myself write every day. In this way, Anita Desai has focused about the Indian diaspora in terms of immigrants' quest.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I am summing up the presentation, ma'am. The novel gives us
I thought you have already summed it up.
an
Because-
insight into the future society, which is indicative of becoming a multicultural and multi-ethnic society. This narrative of immigrants readers a glimpse of the post-colonial future. Globalization and shrinking of geographical boundaries between countries is a primary factor of widespread immigration. And summing up, I quote the word of Rob Pope: in every domain of language, literature, and culture, there is an acute tension and sometimes a flat contradiction between the globalizing processes of standardization and localizing process of differentiation. That is the same case with Chemubhai Patel and Biju in the novel The Inheritance of Loss. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sir. The technicalities of the last participant has been solved.
Yeah, I think he has joined through his LAPI.
Okay.
Yes. Sir, please make me host so that I
Yeah.
can share my screen.
Yeah, Atul, you can share your screen.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, is it visible now?
Yeah, fine.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, Atul.
I have just shared my screen, sir.
Yes, visible. You
Is it
You are
visible?
visible. You have shared it. Yeah.
Okay. Respected Dr. Vanjari ma'am, respected Dr. Singhel sir, and all my dear participants. This is Atul Durge, Assistant Professor, Department of English, S. Chandra Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Sakuli, East Bandara. My topic of my presentation, my topic for the today's presentation is Dalit representation in Indian cinema. Indian cinema has celebrated 100 years on May 3rd, 2013, as it marks the day when India's first silent film, Harichandraji Factory, was released. Indian cinema has seen a great change over a period of time, but as far as the representation of Dalits is concerned, it very rarely portrays Dalits in the lead role. Regional cinema is much more concerning compared to the Hindi cinema. According to a report published in The Hindu, the Bollywood industry produced 300 films in 2000 between 2013 and 14, but only 5 of them featured Dalit heroes or heroines. Another report from Birmingham City University in the United Kingdom was published in 2017 that raised a concern about the representation of backward classes in the Indian film industry, pointing out that the Dalit and Bahujan, SC, OBC population in India accounts for 85% of the total, but their representation in film is only 0.1%. Now we will talk about the Indian cinema and what the problem of caste that is far away from Bollywood and entire Indian cinema. Caste is an important part of Indian social structure, but it has been overlooked or underrepresented in cinematic representation. Indian cinema is broadly classified as Bollywood and regional cinema. To some extent, regional cinema has given space to marginalized section, but Hindi cinema has, even after 100 years of its existence, failed to pay enough attention to the problem of caste. Regional cinema directly and aggressively comments on topics that mainstream cinema does not dare. Like we have many examples from South movies like Jai Bhim, Periyoram, Perumal, Karnan, Asuran, but there are no such movies produced in compared to Hindi movies. We can see there are 2 movies, Tandri and Sairat in Marathi, but not just like that movies in Hindi. Nagraj Manjude, director from Marathi director, he when in an interview he talks about the caste. Caste is the foundation of our society. Discrimination is in the air we breathe. These are our realities, and I didn't deliberately include them, but I could not have avoided them either. According to film historian Theodore Bhaskaran, silent films and early talkies were more committed to espousing the Gandhian principle of untouchability. Later films began to avoid frontal confrontation with caste issues. Entertainment became important, says Bhaskaran, and we can see that as far as Indian cinema is concerned, only the box office collection is quite important. When the film comes on a better theme, it doesn't get good money, it doesn't make good money. Neeraj Khaiwan says cinema is an escapist, aspirational, larger than life word. In that sense, it is too Brahmanical in its ethos to give good space to past narrative. Now, portrayal of Dalits on silver screen. Dalits are often portrayed as voice-led and deployed in all spheres of life, like the arts, culture, and cinema. Even after more than 17 years of independence, India has failed to accept its indigenous children, such as Dalits and tribal. After 17 years of independence, even Dalits and tribals are far away from mainstream. And there is no reservation in culture and arts, they are far behind. And often Dalits are presented on a silver screen, but their fighting spirit has not been ever shown. Dalits are often invisible in Hindi cinema, and even when they appear on screen, they are shown as powerless and dependent upon the patronage of the social elites. That is called savior syndrome. To represent Dalits, only dark-skinned actors have been given roles, or fair-skinned actors have done black-colored makeup, but there is no tribal or Dalit actor who is playing the performing role. Like we have example in Marathi serial Rang Maza Vegada, where the actress she has been applied black color makeup, but they could not find any black color girl to play that role. Indian films are yet to properly represent marginalized communities and minorities in a proper manner. Women as subalterns. Women are doubly marginalized because they are Dalit and they are women. As the Indian patriarchal mindset does not allow women to come forward for their betterment in society, they are chained in every sphere of life. We say that women are working with men's, but still India needs feminism. Why does so? The same goes for Indian cinema. Silver screen portrays Dalit and tribal women as the most subjugated people in the caste hierarchy, resulting in numerous forms of cultural, societal, and political elimination. The intersection between gender and caste is a notable trope in popular films in which the caste status of women is presented as a problem for the hero. We have watched many movies where the caste problem is there. Subaltern women in Indian cinema are often subjected to humiliation, molestation, rape, domestic violence, and always when such themes are there in the movie, only the victims are tribal or Dalit women. Very rarely has an assertion found a place on the silver screen. These are some movies due to there are so many movies that talk about caste discrimination, and but I have just chosen three. The first one is Fandry. It is a Marathi film which was released in 2013. The director is Nagraj Manjude, and it tells the story of teenage Dalit boy whose name is Jabia, and he falls in love with an upper caste girl. Jabia belongs to a pig catcher family that is considered a dirty job in society. And there is Adhuri Prem Kahani in this story. The second one is Masan. Masan was released in 2015. Deepak is from Dom or Chanda's caste, and he falls in love with Shalu Gupta, who is a beautiful girl from upper caste. But after receiving good education, he also fails to bridge the social gap that is upper caste and lower caste. The third movie is Sairat, which was released in 2016, and there is a Parsha and Archie. The main characters are there in the story. They are classmates, and Parsha is a son of fisherman. Archie is an upper caste girl. They are lovers, but when the affair is discovered, Archie's brother, Prince, uses violence to drive Parsha and his family out of the village. At the end of the film, we see they are hacked to death. This is the list I have made from Achut Kanya. Achut Kanya was the first movie where caste as a theme we watched. Achut Kanya, which was released in 1937, and up to 2021, the last film was Jai Bhim. After that, in 2022, very recently, we watched June movie. These are some pictures of the movies. Due to time constraint, I cannot go in detail. Conclusion: about 2.5 million people watch film every week in cinema house and theater. The number is increasing with the emergence of OTT platforms. Now we have Netflix and other channels. Films should not be produced to cater the box office values of film. They must aim to reflect a true reflection of marginalization and oppression. Even today, more than 100 cases of atrocities against Dalits are reported in India. Movies like Fandry, Sairat, etc. awaken our conscience at regular intervals and should keep coming unless it is seen in our words and deeds that Dalits, backward classes, and tribal are also human beings with the same body, same emotion, same color of blood. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Durge sir. When Durge sir exactly started, Kapil sir, should I start?
Yeah, ma'am. Please.
With due respect to Kapil sir and all the faculty members who have logged in this refresher course, it was a pleasant change to be a chairman of this session, paper reading session, where a different shift of perspectives was experienced today. Different shift in a sense, I could see that the theory angle has also shifted considerably. Just now, Durge sir started with Dalit representation in Indian cinema, which in the starting couldn't be so very gripping. But later on, when he tried to explain that nearly 85% of Bhujan Samaj and Dalit represent our country, and the representation in cinema is negligible. So it is a point to be noted. Actually, larger than life image and all such things which are represented in cinema, I felt that there is a fear of being misquoted. Some facts can be distorted. But we have recently seen the experience of Amir Khan's Lal Singh Chadda. It being a historical, anti-reports were out before the film's release also. So people were hesitant to go to the theater to watch such a historical figure representing in any form. This misquote or misquoting a particular factor or a particular community is by large restricting people. But sir has a very good study. Sir tried to show how many movies and how many representations. I had a chance to watch that movie Masan. It's a very good movie, and it really is like you get a bit unnerved watching such movies. While watching Jodha Akbar and all, you don't get that feeling. But while watching such movies, and this also can be a point to do research, is in fact by itself a very good point. So I liked your presentation very much, Durge sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And cinema is an escapist. It's very correct. It is larger than life representation. I also like the presentation of Dr. Mahendra Sahare sir, who represented our agriculture crisis in contemporary India. Of course, 58% of our population depends on agriculture, and the remaining 70% on its elite agriculture goods sector. The saying of Parumal Murugan, agriculture is a way of life, is indeed very moving. Adverse government policies sometimes make agriculture a very pitiable profession or a job-oriented sector. We all are dependent on it. We have our link to that sector, agriculture sector. And the recent crisis, which is very dominant in this, is of course the suicides of the farmers, which has been highlighted by Sahare sir. I would like to go through that particular non-fiction, Widows of Vidarbha, where it has been mentioned that 16 farm widows has been given representation in this particular non-fiction. We'll move ahead. Santosh Thakrele sir, correct? Crime novels and journalist. Sir, you can develop that idea that journalism and crime has a direct impact. Like journalism helps in making a crime novel and interesting. You can develop it more nicely, elaborately later on. Pooja, Dr. Pooja, I was a bit expecting more volume, more story to that particular Kathakali, which she tried to represent it, give justice to Kathakali with Anita Nayar's mistress and the status of what Kathakali exactly means. Nowadays, what's happening with literature? New avenues have to be pondered upon, explored upon, and to establish that, to make a concrete effort in any new avenues. Critical and whatever other authors have to say can be incorporated. When we incorporate 2 or 3 authors, novels views, it comes out as an excellent piece of comparative study also. And Kathakali as an art form is of course